point, I think, quite rapidly towards an electric future and towards a sustainable future. I'm fairly encouraged on that front. I think it's going to happen. It is happening. I think we're basically going to need to tackle this problem. Like if I leave with one message is that the magnitude of the energy problem that lies ahead is absolutely enormous. We need to tackle this from all angles. So that's Powerwall locally, some amount of local solar power.
Elon, I think you're talking about something really important, especially for this audience.
And that's just in America. I mean, places that are industrializing like India, I think it probably is a 10x output.
こんにちは。テスラ全力チャンネルのタイツです。今回は新たに発表されたイーロン・マスクによる大胆な未来予想についてお伝えしようと思います。今年発表されたマスタープラン3では、今後10年間でテスラは EV 販売に特化したビジネスモデルから、すべての産業エネルギーを電動化させるという事業にシフトするという大いなる野望を発表しました。この動画では、米国の電力企業である PGE 社主催のイベントで、マスタープラン3で掲げたテスラの新エネルギー戦略の基礎になる部分として、なぜエネルギービジネスにおいて電動化が必要なのか、そしてテスラがこうした分野に取り組むことでどんな経済効果が得られるのかについて解説しようと思います。
Well, thank you for making time for us. Hey, Elon, I want to start, first of all, has anyone ever shared with you that you're like the best combination of Henry Ford and Thomas Edison all wrapped up in one? Has that analogy been made before?
I'm not sure that exact analogy has been made. It certainly would be flattering.
Well, that's how I feel today. That's how I feel today, Elon. We're making history here together, and you're joined by hundreds of people here in San Ramon, California, but thousands of people across the globe have joined in for our conversation today. So thank you for that. We're talking a lot today, Elon, about breakthrough thinking and what it means to stand for something that you believe is possible in the face of potentially resistance. Maybe people don't think that it's possible. And I'm curious, Elon, if you can think back, when was the first time you had a thought that something was possible that no one else believed?
Well, I'm not sure that no one else believed, but because it's usually somebody that believes something, however preposterous that might be. But let's say when most people didn't believe it or didn't think it was true, obviously I think electric vehicles would certainly put into that category. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we can turn it up in the room a little bit louder, please.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Elon. Go ahead.
So yeah, I wouldn't say that nobody. If we're looking at say electric vehicles and reusable rockets, I think most people did not think that would happen. A few did, obviously, but most people did not. But for me, the technology it seemed quite obvious from a physics standpoint. If you look at say an internal combustion engine car, it needs an electric motor and a battery just to start. So it's an incredibly complicated device, a combustion engine car. And the only reason battery cars did not take off was range. So as soon as you have something with high energy density like lithium ion, and you have now a range that matches people's needs, then there's really no need for the complexity of an electric car, of a gasoline car. So
10年前は EV が世界で最も売れるなどとは誰も思っていませんでした。当時人類は常に石油資源の枯渇に怯えて、いつかやってくる文明の終焉に向かうのか、もしくは誰かがやってくれるイノベーションをただ待つのみだったのです。そして現在、イーロン・マスクのおかげで10年前まで実現不可能だと思っていた電気自動車は、もはや世界のスタンダードになりつつあって、今年上半期でテスラ社は世界中の地域で他のメーカーを抜いて最多販売記録を樹立しています。
Like a lot of people think that the origins of like my interest in electric vehicles would be environmental, but actually my concern was simply that we will run out of hydrocarbons to mine and burn, and so we need something to continue civilization, independent of any environmental issues. And we are moving at this point, I think, quite rapidly towards an electric future and towards a sustainable future. I'm fairly encouraged on that front. I think it's going to happen. It is happening. We can always make it go faster. That would be good. But I'm not actually in favor of sort of vilifying the oil and gas industry. We still obviously need that in order for civilization to function. But we should be transitioning to sustainable energy as quickly as we reasonably can. But I think, like I said, without vilifying oil and gas.
Well, and I think that really hits on some of the things we're talking about today, Elon, and the work that Tesla and PG&E are doing together. Just a couple props. As I say, I'm leading with love, but I got to show some real love for the Tesla team, Elon. Our partnership on our Elkhorn battery storage, 182 megawatts of power packs, put in a really smart location adjacent to the transmission system that existed from an old steam plant, really has been a perfect complement to the abundant solar that we have and the duck curve that exists. We're working on all sorts of things together in that vein. I'd love to know where you think the grid is going, and where, obviously you've made some really big predictions about the 3 times increase in energy demand as a result of electrification. What do you think the role of the grid is in that future?
Yeah, I mean, to be precise, if one looks at total energy consumption globally, in very rough terms, only about a third of it is electricity. And then a third of it is burnt for transport with hydrocar, aircraft, boats, cars, and stuff. And then a third of it is for heating. So even if you assume that electricity demand is static, in order to transition to a sustainable energy future where everything is electric and sustainably electric, we need a tripling of electrical output. So you can mark my words here, electrical output will triple.
イーロン・マスクは2006年にはすでに2030年の世界の自動車販売市場の大半は EV シフトしていると予想していました。そしてその時の定量的な予想としては、2030年時点の世界の自動車市場の売上規模は3兆ドルと予想されていて、この市場の半分程度をテスラ社が占める計画でした。こうした経済効果をざっと見積もると、現在のテスラの EV 販売の年間売上高は約1000億ドル程度で、仮に市場の半分、つまり2030年時点で 1.5 兆ドルの売上を達成できれば、利益率を現在と同程度で維持することで、テスラの時価総額は15倍、株価は4000ドル程度になる可能性があります。しかもレガシーメーカーは EV 化の流れに遅れを取っていますから、こうした未来が到達する可能性は年々高まっているのです。
As you alluded to, because of the way that the grid has been constructed to match peak demand, there is actually excess capacity if you run the plants sort of 24 hours a day. I'm not sure. It might be as much as a 2x gain, but it's at least 50 to 100% increase in total energy output if power plants are run 24/7 versus just matching consumer demand. And obviously the reason for that is there hasn't been really, in most cases, a way to buffer energy. And what stationary battery packs like the Tesla Megapack enable is to buffer the energy. So you can essentially run the power plant at its max, power output, and fill up the battery pack and then use it as needed. So this effectively gives far greater output potential for the existing electricity generation infrastructure.
Yeah, and Elon, we are very excited about that. And we actually together got to do a little demonstration last summer. You'll remember we had the peak event in September of 22 here in California. And as a result of the integration with the already, I call it anyways economics, the power walls that people had purchased already in their garages across California, Tesla delivered through our grid, 50 megawatts of supply in the peak hours of those peak days. And that's just a start. That was like something we thought together, and thanks to the Tesla's nimble approach and our ability to keep pace, we were able to deliver that last year. And we're continuing to do that now. In fact, last week, my power wall in my garage, you'll be happy to know, Elon, was tapped. And that was good news. We're supplying distributed storage to the grid.
PGE 社とテスラが現在取り組んでいるのはグリッド構想、つまり仮想発電所です。既存の発電所では石炭やガスなどを燃焼させてタービンを回して発電するというプロセスを取りますが、PGE 社はテスラと共同で太陽光からエネルギーを取り出して大量に購入したメガパックに蓄電したり、各家庭にあるパワーウォールに蓄電した電力を他の家庭や企業に融通するという方法を採用しています。その結果、それまで問題視されていた時間帯による電力需要と供給電力の差額で発生するエネルギー不足に対する問題、 いわゆるダックカーブ現象を解決することに成功したのです。
What do you think the full extent of distributed storage, and particularly with the idea of bidirectional charging vehicles? Elon, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think there's a buffering that is needed, obviously, at the power plant level or sort of heavy industry utility level, which is the mega pack. And then there's also energy buffering that is useful at the endpoint, at the consumer's home or individual business. I think we're basically going to need to tackle this problem. Like if I leave with one message is that the magnitude of the energy problem that lies ahead is absolutely enormous.
He's right. 先ほどの各家庭と企業が発電して蓄電したエネルギーを社会に融通しようとする仮想発電所のニーズは今後ますます高まっていきます。当面は石炭やガスによる発電がすぐになくなることはありませんが、価格変動を伴う発電コストの上昇によるエネルギーの供給不安というものは、この数年コロナ禍で大きく注目されたサプライチェーンの脆さとして露呈した部分でもあります。そのため今後自治体や PGE などの電力会社、政府が一体となって脱化石燃料の動きは加速して、テスラはその追い風を蓄電池需要という形で一挙に受けることになります。
It's good news for the utility industry. It's great news. People are going to use a lot of electricity, like a lot.
PG&E likes the sound of that, Elon. We like that.
Yeah. So this is for sure going to happen. So we're in order to satisfy the electricity need of a fully electric transport economy and electric heating, it's you've got to triple output. And that's just in America. I mean, places that are industrializing like India, I think it probably is a 10x output. A friend of mine was talking to me about like some of these sort of fundamental ratios or metrics that are interesting to think about. One of them is total amount of energy per person. And you can include thermal energy and electrical energy, and how that has scaled over time is incredible. So, if you said like, Before the steam engine, you basically just had energy per person would be like, what can you burn with like firewood or a horse or an ox? So this is obviously not much. Now the energy, if you say like total sort of human civilization created energy is gigantic compared to the past. And that number per person is going to increase, I think, dramatically over time. This friend of mine that I referred to thinks that we may end up at some point. Well, if the trend continues, that it might end up being like a terawatt per person. Now, I'm not showing it. Like terawatt per person is a lot, obviously.
That'd be a lot.
So big asterisk around if trend continues.
Yeah.
But energy per person over time, it looks like a wall at the Industrial Revolution. And the same can be said for compute per person over time, digital versus biological compute. These are really interesting metrics. So basically, what I'm saying is we need to tackle this from all angles. So that's Powerwall locally, some amount of local solar power. It just helps a little bit so that one doesn't have to expand as many substations and build as many transmission lines. Which drive people crazy in like suburban neighborhoods, basically.
Yeah. Elon, I think you're talking about something really important, especially for this audience.
なぜか日本ではテスラをはじめとした EV 推進の動きや各国政府の補助金などの動きが日本の自動車産業潰しだと解説している人もいますが、おそらく当事者はそんなこと誰も考えていなくて、考えているのは経済合理性を追求しながら地球規模での持続可能性を探っているだけなのです。今後人類は産業革命に並ぶ大きな変革期に入っていきます。人口の増加や一人当たりのエネルギー消費量は飛躍的に増加して、これまでのエネルギー供給の体制では社会を維持できなくなっていきます。だからこそイーロン・マスクも化石燃料を完全に否定することなく、共存しながら現実的なエネルギー安定供給の方法を模索して、その中で経済合理性を追求していこうと主張しているのです。今回の内容は以上です。本日も最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。もし動画の内容が良ければグッドボタンをお願いします。それではまた次回の動画でお会いしましょう。バイバイ。